I'm out on a 50-mile circuit from my hometown of Bath, and I'm heading up onto the Cotswold escarpment. Today I'm going to visit a very isolated church. It's been redundant since 1970, out of use, but it's still consecrated and it's open to the public. But you need to walk up a few hundred yards of bridleway to get there. So it's very remote. It's coming up. It's one of only 2 churches in the country, presumably the world, dedicated to this patron saint. Because the access along a bridleway to this church, I believe, is likely to be very muddy, I'm wearing my touring shoes, my winter touring shoes, so if they get caked in mud I don't mind too much. I'm on quiet roads at the moment, and then I'm just about to skirt around the edge of Yate, which is a commuter town on the outskirts of Bristol. You can see we're approaching a main road. There will be a cycle path on the other side of that. While we've got this traffic-free path, I can tell you the saint is St Arilda, sometimes known as St Arilda. The church we're going to today is dedicated to St Arild, and the other one, about 14 miles over to the west on the banks of the Severn, up on a hill near the Severn Bridge, is called St Arilda's Church. That's at Oldbury on Severn. So that you can see the connection in name. Our destination is Oldbury on the Hill. If you haven't heard of Oldbury on the Hill, don't worry, I live not far from it, and I had to look it up on the map to see where it is. It's very close to the village of Didmarton, and that's very close to the Badminton estate. It's north of the M4. Anyway, I'll talk to you when we get on some quieter, nicer, more scenic roads. We're on some quiet roads again. This is Engine Common as we head up towards Wickwar. Well, we left that main road very quickly, now on some nice minor roads, coming up into the small village of Wickwar. Shortly after we pass through Wickwar, we drop down and then climb up onto Hawkesbury Common, and then from there we'll climb up onto Cotswold Ridge, and we won't be far from our destination. This is an example of what the roads are like at the moment. It's been very wet recently and the ground is very waterlogged, which is why I bought touring shoes. All of a sudden, Wickwar will magically appear. There's its church. Just going to join this B road very briefly. So just down here there's a very minor turning. There it is. Unsuitable for heavy vehicles. Chase Lane this is called. Gosh, little stream we're going across, it's very brown, cloudy and fast flowing. Now we're going to start climbing back up out this small valley. Just enough of a hill to get me out of breath. And that's the big Cotswold ridgeline over there. The big tower up there called Somerset Tower. Whew. So that's pretty much what we're heading for, up onto that. there's the explainer, the Somerset Monument, erected 1846 to the memory of General Lord Robert Somerset. And on the other side of the road, that's the hill we've just come up. Go and show you the view from that seat over there while I get my breath back. So you can see we've just climbed up on this big escarpment, and that's the way we've just come up from the common that way. Whew. Okay, so we're going to go down here, turn left shortly somewhere, and then we're actually not that far from Didmarton, which is the main village, and then the church is literally just on the outskirts of that. I want to show you something interesting there. There's 3, possibly 4 churches there. I'm going to go and investigate and explain why I'm not too sure the exact number. Anyway, I've got my breath back. The wind's really quite strong up here. Luckily it's behind me for the moment. We're going to turn right here, go down there, and I'm pretty sure we'll turn left shortly. Then we'll head towards the village of Didmarton, and then we'll fork off around the outskirts of it to our church, St Arilda, at a very small settlement of Oldbury-on-Hill. Let's get going. Soon after setting off from the Somerset Monument, you turn left onto a very scenic, quiet lane. But now I'm up on high ground, it's also very, very windy. Then very soon I join the A road and enter the village of Didmarton. And then soon after the boundary sign, you actually come to the left-hand turning towards the church, and it's even signposted. You're signposted off to the left, the historic church. Okay, that's looking over at Didmarton. This is the loop I've come round. Now, when I first street mapped it and made up the GPS route, it looks like you go up this no through road, which just ends at a farm, then the church is over there. You can see it there. But when I read the directions on how to get access, it says you go along here and approach it on the left up a bridleway. And then when I street viewed it, I saw that brown sign. So it's clearly telling you to go this way, which is what I'm going to do. And as usual, the GPS diagram explains it much better than I can. So we're at where the cursor is. The dark line is what I've done. The thin line, grey line, is what we're about to do. So we turn right at this sharp right angle bend here, signposted by that brown church sign. Go along here, look for a bridleway, and then it's at that dead end. You can see that's exactly what it would be, diagonally from here across there. Okay, so along here. As you go down this minor road, firstly you pass the farm on the right hand side, and then you run alongside a field, and at the end of the dry stone wall you get to the bridleway. There's even a brown sign there. So you can see, just as the road slightly bends round, it looks like there's a duck pond, point of reference. There's also a brown sign there that tells you, look, it's a restricted byway. And the GPS tells the story. There's the black line where I've been, the cursor is where I am. So it's going to be straight up to the church, in, have a look, and then retrace back here. That bale of hay has been placed there strategically. It really limits how far you can open the gate, so it just stopped traffic coming down here. I only just got through with my bike, avoiding that big bit of mud there. You can see how boggy it is. The pond's overflowing. There's no one going to be able to ride along here. It's just going to be walking up here steadily. There we are, St Arilda. I've come up this bridleway to visit a very remote, redundant church. It's been redundant, out of use since 1970, although it's still open for the public to visit. And that's it there, St Arilda. What an amazing location. It's only one of 2 churches in the country, presumably the world, dedicated to this particular saint. The other one is at Oldbury-on-Severn, about 14 miles over that way near the Severn Bridge. Went to visit that on Saturday, actually, Easter Saturday. And St Arild, or sometimes St Arilda, was martyred in the 7th or the 8th century, and her remains were originally buried at the site of her dwelling, and there was a well there which is reputed to have magical, mystical, medicinal healing powers, and also turns blood red one day a year. I went to locate that, and I actually did on Saturday as well. It's a lovely location, if a bit boggy this time of year. And geologists have explained away the redness by some completely unpronounceable algae that I'm not even going to attempt. It's a lovely location, so I've come to visit the other church today. Can't wait to go inside. Wow, this really is a remote location. That lovely Cotswolds stone porch, hoping the door's open. You just come round the corner and see this lovely patch of yellow, and also all the tulips coming up. Wow, how nice is that? So let's go and have a look and see if we can get in. I'm hoping we can. Moment of truth, yes. Gosh, it's got that very algae type feel to it in here. Let's head towards there. Gosh. Would you call that box pews? I'm not sure. Gosh, this really is an ancient church, isn't it? Called the algae in. The green around there. Lovely lead-lined font. Into the bell tower. At St Arilda's at Old Beyond Severn on Saturday, there was a stained glass of the saint. I'm going to go back there and make another video about it sometime. But that presumably is not her. She died a virgin. There's a lamb at the top. Woke up the bell tower. And that very green, mossy, is it calcite they call it? That must be the door at the bell tower. Gosh, very, very remote church. Got lights in there, it's got electricity. As I understand it, this is managed by the Churches Conservation Trust, and they say all their churches are still consecrated. So, you know, there can be services here. And look, you've got everything you need. I've always loved looking around old churches. For me, it's quite often the location, especially somewhere like here, the remoteness. I love just walking through the doors. Sometimes you just get that sense of peace and stillness, you know, from the sometimes crazy world outside. I like the architecture. I love the stories that sometimes unfold from them. I realised quite recently that there's a term for people like me. We're called church crawlers, people who like visiting and exploring old churches, not for worship, but for other reasons. You know, people do it for all sorts of reasons. Considering the remoteness of this church, it looks like it's very well visited. Look at this. That's just March, middle of March. up to 31st of March. That was the 3rd, rather than that be Wednesday, a group of 4. Today's Friday the 5th. Wales, Loud, Wilts, Devizes, not saying, fair comment. South Gloucester, North Yorkshire, Tetbury, Chippenham, Dartmouth, Devon. Gives you a flavour. As always, I put all the links to the churches in the description below. But if you go to the Churches Conservation Trust and scroll down, I think it's more information. You can actually download that booklet in PDF form. I've got it on my phone actually. And it'll tell you about the church. It will also tell you a little bit about St Arilda. So although I've got this downloaded on my phone, it's probably easier, less glare coming off this booklet. So it says St Arilda. Very little is known about St Arild, the patron saint of this church. She lived sometime during the Saxon period, perhaps the 8th century, and died at Kington, which is about 1¼ miles south of Old Beyond Severn. That's where the other St Arilda church is, high up on a hill overlooking the Severn Estuary, just north of the Severn Bridges. Her relics were claimed to have miraculous powers, and ordnance survey maps still mark St Arilda's well at Kington. Tradition has it that the stones in her well turned blood red in colour on her feast day, the 20th of July. Shortly after the Norman conquest, her remains were transferred to St Peter's Abbey, now Gloucester Cathedral. There's actually a stained glass window of St Arilda at that church. I'll go back sometime and film it. There's also a statue of her set in the wall above the porch door. And I only realised recently that's relatively new. I think it was a millennium project, so within the last quarter of a century. Wow. Gosh, tells you where the local refreshments would be. We're actually not that far from Tetbury. Toilets available there. Tells you about the disabled access steps down to porch and the nave. Going to go and have a look around this lovely churchyard. And then we're going to go down to Didmarton, investigate the chapel and the 2 possible churches. And then we're going to start heading back to Bath, and I've got a feeling that's going to be a bit of a slog. I don't know if that's authentic, but there's somebody carved in the year 1631 there. I've mentioned it before, I live in a Victorian come Edwardian house in Bath, and it's faced with Bath stone. And somebody's carved in there, Jim Hollis, 1873, I think. Just leaving the church now. Gonna go back down this bridleway. That stone wall there. That was that little lane I was on. As it curls back round to join that Tetbury Road in the village of Didmarton. Just before I make that junction, I'll head off to the right, and I'll go down into a private estate. And I think there's a chapel down there. Whether I can get access or not, I don't know. We'll go down and have a look, and then I'll see about the two churches in the village itself. Is it only one or two? The key holder app suggests there's two. My GPS mapping suggests there's only one, so we'll see. And yes, I do have to walk this. I tried riding, but my narrow tyres are just sinking down with the wet grass. And there's more rain coming on. Okay, we're coming back down on this very minor road to intersect with that A road. But before we get there, you may see what we're going to do. That's the main road there. We're going to come down here, take that sharp right, and go down that dead end. And that's where the chapel would be over there. Whether it's private property or accessible, I don't know. Lady walking the dog out there, I can maybe ask her. And then we'll retrace back to main road, go back through the village, investigate the two churches, and then we'll be heading back down to Bath that way. There we are then, just before you hit the main road, very sharp right hand turn down there. I might just ask that lady walking her dog. Footpath only. So it's a footpath leading up into Didmarton. I may not need to retrace things back, that's the way I want to go. Here's the chapel. A small little chapel, looks very locked. Let's go and have a look. Congregational church, Sunday worship, Tuesday prayer. No access, that's a shame. Go and have a look round. Nice bit of shelter from the wind here. Can hear it blowing. So rather than retrace that way, get on the main road, I can just cut through there by the look of it. So it's worth coming down here just for that. That lady with her dog's just come by, we had a bit of a chat. She said the other one's along here, I turned left to get to it. But I said I wasn't sure if there's two, and she said, oh, I'm not sure, maybe they mean this one. So I think the key holder app and the ride with GPS, which is based on Google Maps, don't quite correspond with each other. So that's what I wanted to come and find out, to be honest. So we're going to see. So the key holder app said there was another church here, around about here. So that's what we just did. We came along there, went down to the chapel, actually able to cut straight through the road here. So we've rejoined the A333 here. And that's what used to be a church, is now private. So if we just carry on back along here, the other church, St Lawrence Church, Didmarton, should be along here on the right hand side. And then we'll carry on after that and take a further right, and that'll take us back down towards Bath. There we go. Just along a little bit further, there we are, on the right hand side, St Lawrence. There's a World War I remembrance cross outside. And I've just had a drop down message on my phone, which is relevant to my holiday in June, which is linked to the First World War. There's a gravel track round from the road. It's the porch, and it says church open. whitewashed porch, wooden beams. It says church open. Yes. Oh, instantly musty smell, but unusual colours. Pews painted green. There's a box pew over there. Sign of times, actually, more and more chairs being used. And I can see why. Just as aisle pews replaced box pews, you can see why chairs are replacing traditional pews. I mean, for one thing, that's going to be a lot more comfortable than an old-fashioned wooden pew. But also, you can configure it more for, smaller congregations. They can be turned around for coffee mornings, that sort of thing. A lot more flexible for modern day use. There's a church just outside Bath, and I saw last year all the traditional wooden aisle pews are all stacked up along the north wall, and all they've got in there now is seats, like in a semicircular shape. And I wondered why that was, and I've since realised the front look, that lovely wooden cover, whitewashed, big bit of wood breaking in the building. Just hear the ticking of the mechanism of the clock around here. I want to go and see what that's about. It's the bell tower, isn't it? But, oh gosh, look at that, the pendulums. All the weights. It's about to ring. I thought that was the clock about to bong. I'd love to be there when that goes off. Love that memorial there with the castle towers. It's a very high pulpit there, look, with a wooden sign plate. Didmarton with Sopworth. We're actually going back through Sopworth. When we turn off this main road very shortly, we'll be turning right. I'm pretty sure our route goes down through Sopworth. You know the score by now. Just before I leave, I look at the visitor's book. So the last person for me to come in and sign was the 31st of last month. And then today, me, 5th of the 4th. So she was from London, Dartmouth, Devon, South Devon, Exeter, Essex, Australia, Brisbane. That was last August. Yorkshire Dales. Canada, look. Does that Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, Canada? It's amazing what you see in these books, isn't it? Okay, just wheeling my bike at the churchyard. Soon be the moment of truth. What's the wind going to be like heading back to Bath? So my GPS is going to send me along there where that caravan's just gone. Just as we leave the village, we're going to turn right, south-southwest into the teeth of this headwind. Right, let's get going. And here's our turning here. Just on these slight rise, you can just see this is the story of this winter, just field water making its way out, down via gravity flowing. And when I went to find St Arilda's well the other day, on Easter Saturday, I got a website which gave me a grid reference, and then I just fed that into a grid reference finder, and I was able to sort of like, cross-plot it with my GPS mapping. And I found it, but it's said to be really, really clean. people still use it for their drinking water now. That's how pure it is, and horses and cattle drink it. And there's this history group that recreate a walk from St Arilda's church to St Arilda's well every July the 20th, which is her feast day. Anyway, so when I left that, as I said, the fields were absolutely saturated. It's like a bog. When I was riding up this hill, there was these holes in the middle of the road, and there's just water coming out. It was almost like wells, springs in the middle of the road. It was just the fact that the water's just trying to get out through any crack at the moment. What I'm doing is I'm trying to gain as much hedgerow cover as possible, and then we're going to cross the A420 main road between Bristol, Chippenham, head down to Marshfield, and then weave our way round onto the Fossway above Bath at Bannerdown. That'll probably be quite hard, that stretch along the Fossway, and then it's about 1.5 miles down the hill into central Bath. Road is ruler straight, and where that black headlight is, we're just about to plunge off the cliff. Here we go. Sorry about that, just my little joke. I've been wanting to do that for ages. Blimey, is that the time? I better disappear.